But first, hundreds of firefighters across the West took part in a 4-hour strike today in a dispute with the government over pensions. They're making a stand against the government's plans to increase their retirement age from 55 to 60. It lasted for 4 hours, during which time there were no major incidents.
In a moment, we'll be seeing how management was poised to react in case of an emergency. But first, our Somerset correspondent, Clinton Rogers, spent the day with one Bridgewater fireman who says he's striking with a heavy heart.
So hopefully we'll make some inroads and get the government talking again.
Breakfast in the Leslie household, and the obvious talking point is the strike.
Paying more, getting less.
James Leslie is 43. He's been a fireman in Bridgewater for 11 years, and he planned to retire at 55. But under new government plans, he won't be able to draw his pension until he's 60.
It's not what any of us signed up for, but it's not what any of us expected. And I don't think it's safe for the public.
I really believe that they should be supported, and I completely support my husband and the reasons for what he's doing today.
You're going to lose money?
Yeah, I'm prepared to take that on.
12 noon and firefighters in Bridgewater, in common with others across the country, walk out. James, who was off duty this morning, joins the picket line, youngest daughter in his arms. Now, the government insists the pension on offer to firefighters is still the best in the public sector. But the union says the new plan puts lives at risk.
Look, I don't believe the public wants 60-year-old firefighters fighting fires or rescuing them throughout the day and night. They understand our concerns.
Sounds of support from some passing motorists, but not everyone feels the same.
I don't like it because I'm a nanny to this little boy, and if anything was to happen, I'd feel like they wouldn't be there for us.
The union has said that this 4-hour strike is a shot across the bows of government. But unless this dispute is settled, further strikes are inevitable. And next time, James and his colleagues will probably be talking days, not hours. Clinton Rogers, BBC Points West, Somerset.
Well, the last time there was a national fire strike, it was the government's responsibility to provide emergency cover. But today it was up to individual fire authorities. Our Home Affairs correspondent Steve Brodie saw firsthand how one brigade, Avon Fire, coped.
As the striking firefighters walked out, this station here at Temple Back in Bristol, along with all the other fire stations in the brigade area, closed and were locked up as part of a management plan to prevent picketing. As part of the brigade's contingency plan to provide a 999 emergency service, 6 fire engines were positioned at 6 strategic sites, including this one here at the TA Centre in the centre of Bristol. The appliances were driven by non-union and retained firefighters.
It's halfway through the 4-hour strike, and the control room here at Lansdowne has had nothing more serious to deal with than a hospital ringing up to say that an alarm had gone off, but it was only burnt toast, and the brigade didn't have to worry.
The Avon Fire Authority had already freely admitted that it wouldn't meet the 8-minute call-out time during the strike. The big fear was how would they cope if there was a major fire or a pile-up on the motorways.
In the event of a major incident, we've got a number of options. We can call in resources from our neighbours if they're available. There is a limited military capability that's been put in place for national resilience. And yes, there is an agreement with the FBU that should there be a major incident declared, then we can recall their members.
The brigade says that on an average weekday between 12 and 4, it receives between 5 and 30 calls. Today, it got just 4. The brigade says the public responded well to its appeal to take extra care. But what of the future?
We're confident that if further strikes are called and if they're extended into longer periods, then we'll adjust our contingency plans, and hopefully we'll still be able to guarantee the public that should you dial 999, ask for fire, we'll continue to make a response.
Today may have gone without incident, but the unions are warning more strikes could follow. Steve Brodie, BBC Points West.
Well, as we've been hearing, the main reason for the strike is a row over pensions. At the moment, firefighters can retire on a full pension at the age of 55. The government changes would push that up by 5 years. On the new deal, a firefighter earning £29,000 a year would get a pension of £19,000 at 60, with an additional state pension of more than £5,000 at 65.
Well, joining me to discuss all this is the financial expert Mark Dampier from the Bristol firm Hargreaves Lansdown and Tam McFarlane from the Fire Brigades Union. Thanks very much, both of you, for coming in. Mark, you've organised a lot of pensions for people. Is the firefighters' deal a good one or a bad one?
Well, most public sector pensions are really good deals, certainly if you compare them to the private sector. The truth of the matter is that what's actually happening across just not the UK but the Western world is that people are living longer and governments can't afford to pay pensions for such a long period of time. So people are having to retire later. That's the reality of the situation.
Tam?
Well, a pension's only a good pension if you can access it. And I've got to say, the position of the Fire and Rescue Service has now reached an intolerable point. You know, the government is trying to impose a retirement age for all firefighters of 60. But their own research shows that 2/3 of the staff won't be able to meet the fitness standards at that age. That means firefighters will be left with no job and no pension because they won't be able to meet the physical demands of the job. There's a reality check here. The government needs to understand the physical demands of our profession, and we need a pension that actually matches our profession.
Is that a reasonable point to make? After all, not every job you can soldier on to 60, 65 or whatever.
Well, the point is, most people are going to have to do that. That is the actual reality of the situation. I can't argue whether firemen are fit or not, but across the whole of the country, we're all stuck in this sort of method, in this sort of system. So what TAM's members have to do, if they want to retire earlier, they need to save more so they can retire that bit earlier. Because you can still retire at 55. You don't have to go till 60. And that will give you a full pension. But if you save more money in the meantime, then you could actually retire earlier.
Well, I think the public understands. Indeed, today in the picket lines we had plenty of members of the public telling us that they support us fully. The public understands. They don't want firefighters reaching 60, running through fires, trying to rescue them, doing the sort of job that we do. They understand we'll simply be unable to do it. I've got to say that isn't just ludicrous, it's dangerous. Dangerous to the firefighters and dangerous to the public. That's why we need a pension scheme that matches our occupation.
But a lot of people would give their right arm, wouldn't they, for the pension that some of your members are being offered?
Well, firefighters pay 13% in pension contributions, but the pension is only a pension if you can access it, and that's what our fight is about. We can't have firefighters working up to 60, failing fitness standards, and then effectively being sacked without a pension.
But your members can access it at 55 if they want to, so that's not actually true.
Well, firefighters currently can retire at the age of 55, and that's because the fitness standards at that point in time they can meet.
A lot
After
of fire
that
work,
age, they won't be able to.
Tam,
So
a lot of fire brigade work, I guess, is prevention, isn't it? Advising schools and offices and so on about what can be done. Isn't there, surely something can be worked out where you perhaps back off the frontline stuff, but you do more behind the scenes?
Well, David, back in 2006, a pension scheme was introduced for new entrants that had a pension age of up to 60, and that was against the background. It's in the House of Commons library, against the background of firefighters who couldn't pass a fitness test would be given these jobs. These jobs have gone. It's not just the backroom jobs that have gone. Operational jobs have gone as well.
Still a fantastic pension, Tam. And you'd have to have a lump sum of over £500,000 in the private sector to get anywhere near a fireman's pension.
If you can't access it.
We've got to leave it there. Thank you both very much. Thank you.
Good debate.